Now with me, I have Professor David Aworawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos, and Jide Ologun, legal practitioner, national development advocate, and fellow Institute of Leadership Coaching and Strategy. Now, gentlemen, thank you for being here again today. We've had two guests. We had Shina Kawunishe. Shina Kawunishe used to teach sociology at the Ogun State University, as he then was, before he then went into other things, agriculture, mining, and now he's a CNG gas expert, selling CNG kits, converting vehicles, and looking into government policies in that arena. We started by discussing Nigeria at 65. And it was full of praise for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. He said all the 12 points covered by President Tinubu, it was on point in terms of the details, information, statistics, but that he probably missed out a 13th point, which is about improvement in power. Now, when he was here 5 months ago, he complained about gas, compressed natural gas kits, access to gas for CNG converted vehicles. But he says that for him, this Independence Day, President Tinubu has done very well in that regard. But he says some people are trying to divert money from the midstream and downstream government gas infrastructure fund, about $256.2 billion, and that nobody should divert that money because it's meant for development of gas infrastructure. But he seems to be very happy that Nigeria at 65 has turned the corner and that we have survived the worst. And this administration is doing very well. So, I mean, he was speaking from his own area of engagement and his reaction generally to this speech. And then we had Dr. Ifenyinwa Nwakwesi to speak on teaching. Today is World Teachers Day. And it's just as well that we have Professor Aworawo, who is a teacher. Mr. Ologun, I think, is also a teacher because he's a public relations consultant from the west to the south. So that's also, a form of teaching. But World Teachers Day, teachers have been celebrated, and the theme is teaching as a collaborative profession. What role the community can play, what role parents can play, what role the teachers themselves can play in terms of mentoring students. Today we are praising teachers as the future of the country. But Dr. Nwakwesi was saying that, look, teachers do need to develop themselves in terms of mindset growth, lifestyle, trying to define roles for every stakeholder. Let's start with those two topics before we take on other topics today. Well, you are closest to me on the table, Mr. Ologun. Let's start with you.
Thank you, Doctor. And let's start with the 65th anniversary of Nigeria. And we say congratulations to Nigeria. And then we must also acknowledge that our President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is embarking on lots of reforms. And he has said that the worst season is over. And under the renewed hope, we hope so, that it won't just be a matter of rhetorics, that indeed, as we turn a new curve, that things will start actually looking up toward national development, because in his own speech, he also acknowledged that the nation was practically at the state of collapse before he took over. And having said that, let me go specifically to the area the guest focused on, which is the CNG and the gas resource in the country. It's a good thing that CNG has become an alternative to petrol since the removal of the fuel subsidy. But what I discovered is that his own experience of now having access to support and things may not be the experience of the generality of citizens. In actual fact, I also considered, reconfiguring our vehicles to CNG, but I was told that the kits are not available. So these are some of the challenges that are still there. When we talk about government and democracy, it's the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So in this new curve, I think the government should focus more on giving access to majority of the citizens to cushion the effect. And I must acknowledge also that food prices are dropping on some food commodities. But again, the pressure is still on disposable income. So those are the issues. And my wish indeed for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is that he will make a difference in terms of making the country rise again in glory. The challenges are there, but he needs to also restructure his strategy. For instance, may I suggest that the accrued revenue from the removal of fuel subsidy that he started channeling to the governors, can we stop giving the governors right now and look at how we can drive interventions that will positively impact the basic amenities that are available? Thank God today's Teachers' Day, the ASU has rolled out an ultimatum to embark on industrial action. The doctors are there. There are other challenging areas. And again, I appreciate the fact that he said the law enforcement agents are going after those who are trying to corner the resources in the country. Can we do that effectively? Let there be consequences. And again, extend it to the oil thieves and those who are plundering the nation with their economic terrorism against the land. So on that note, I want to congratulate Nigerians for the 65th independence anniversary, and the team remains that all hands should be on deck. I just want to amend that a bit, that not just all hands, all heads, all hearts, and all hands. Those who have the privilege of managing our resources should do so with the fear of God to generate commonwealth for common good. And that brings us to teachers. And this is a special day for me. Let me start by acknowledging my late mom, Mrs. Olufunke Ologun, a wonderful teacher, and then that impact is still an everlasting one. And my dad also, Christopher Ologun. Talking about collaboration, you see, in our family, education was like, it must take place. And looking back, we thank God. And I agree that in the society, all of us must come together to convert the human resource to human capital. And that is what some nations of the world are enjoying today. We should not neglect it. And the teachers who are laboring to ensure that we have a developed people must also be encouraged. So right now, I pitch my tent on the side of ASU and those who are in that profession, that the government should see how they can be empathetic towards them to assure that the basic needs and what they need to serve diligently and effectively are provided for them. And for parents who sometimes go out there to beat teachers up, they should also consider that in the absence of raising human capital in the society, crisis may be inevitable. And again, what can we do to reverse the brain drain that we have in the country, so that at the end of the day, the renewed hope agenda, if complemented with the efforts of the government to support those who will help build the sustainability of sustaining that new experience of Nigeria, then the success we achieve can be sustained. So once again, happy Teachers' Day. And I also remember one of my teachers in the primary school, Mr. Ibrahim. I don't know where he is right now. If I scored 92 in arithmetic, Mr. Ibrahim would beat me as if I scored 30. And I thank God for him wherever he is right now, for giving us that foundation to, lift us up in life. So there's no option to education. So congratulations to the teachers and the community at large. Let's all collaborate to support the efforts.
Okay. Happy World Teachers Day. You cannot be more correct. Correct, as Professor Akintelewa will say. Now, he is also a teacher. Now, let's go to the teacher here with us in the studio, Professor David Aworawo.
Yeah, let me begin by analyzing the Nigeria 65 and the claim that the worst is over. We wish that that claim is true or is realistic, but for me, I would take it with cautious optimism. Cautious optimism because governments have been doing reforms in Nigeria since for as long as you can remember. When in 1986, then self-styled President Ibrahim Babangida introduced the Structural Adjustment Program, SAP. If you listen to the independence broadcast of 1989-1990, it's almost like what we are seeing now, that the worst was over. Nigeria's adoption of the IMF program had saved Nigeria from total collapse and all that. But the 1990s were very bad. The 1990s ran through without major improvement in the economy. In fact, when we look at the Nigeria's economic development trajectory from independence, the 1980s and 1990s are some of the worst. The 1980s were, midway, we had the IMF, IMF introduced the SAP program. And, the 1990s just ran out like that as well, with poverty expanding, unemployment very high and all that. So I would need minimum a year more to be able to speak firmly about whether we have the worst is over or not, because forever we have been told to tighten our belt, we'll soon be there. And don't forget also, virtually every government that comes, perhaps with the exception of Obasanjo government and the two after him, the PDP governments, one government will criticize the other. Buhari spent 8 years lamenting about how bad Nigeria was under Jonathan. And the 8 years just passed, with Nigeria going worse and worse by the day. It is true the reforms of the current government, we can see some positives here and there, but we still need time to be able to tell whether we have, whether the worst is over or not. Reason being that, to my mind, a better approach could have been adopted in the reforms. Well, that is, by the way now. And then two, this tendency to just say, everything was collapsing, we have come to salvage it. So let's just wait and see. And then third, when you look at how countries grow, there is a theory, a modernization theory, and a variant of it by W.W. Rostow, the American historian and economic analyst. He wrote a book, a couple of books in the 1960s, one in 1965, where he details stages of, growth. We can accept everything Maslow says, Rostow says, hook, line, and sinker, but it does give an idea as to how countries develop. Subsistence agriculture is the lowest, and then, of course, industrialization and the rest of them built on it. The fact that we haven't done much as far as industrialization is concerned makes me feel that we may not have turned the corner as much as people think. Unless and until the industrial sector is expanded, grows, is expanded, is prioritized, we can't really achieve so much in terms of economic development, because in that sector that would employ people and then, of course, create wealth, and then, of course, the economy that will grow. Right now, we are trying to move away from subsistence agriculture to mechanized agriculture. That's still as one of the lowest in the stages of growth. That's why unemployment is still very high despite all the reforms. Poverty is still very intense. 1.3 million Nigerians, perhaps even more, are still poor. And then, because when you are expressing optimism, it has to be based on something. Unless and until the industrial sector, enough attention is paid to it and it's expanded, we'll make some progress, but I'm not sure as extensive as will make us to record that transformation. So, to add to what Barrister Ologun has said regarding suggestion for to government as to what to do for things to really improve? Industrial sector. We must leverage, we must focus on, we must go beyond agriculture. I mean, what we are doing now, mechanized agriculture, is green revolution. Green revolution. And remember Jagari in the early 1980s, green revolution. Despite that, agriculture remains subsistence. So I would suggest to government very strongly that, yes, agriculture is being, mechanization is receiving attention now. We should move beyond that to reset the industrial sector. We should be concerned that the few that were in existence, many left, many shut down, and the move towards making them to, be revived and sustained, we can't quite see clearly yet. That should be the next, agenda for the government, for us to really be able to turn the corner, to say the worst is over, as the government says. Well, we can only wish Nigeria well at 65. Anyway, but in any case, this year there was no celebration even, and 40 years. I will just remember 40 years ago. That's 1985, Independence Day, 25 years. When Ngozi sang that song, Nigeria is 25, we have survived, we have indeed survived. Arise, salute the nation.
Prof, sing, Prof.
I should sing?
You are reciting this song.
Oh, okay, let me sing it.
Sing, please.
Nigeria is 25. Nigeria is 25. Well, we did survive. We indeed survive. Arise, salute the nation. Join the celebration. People united, we never fall. The sun will shine, the rain will fall. The sun will shine, the rain will fall. We still remember that song 40 years ago.
Yes.
40 years ago.
Tafawa Balewa actually, in 1960, said, "United we stand, divided we fall." Cyprian Quincy later wrote a novel of the same title. But where are we today?
Yes, which is why I'm very happy President Tinubu talked about his efforts to unite the country. But again, my addendum to that would be that we should go beyond just saying it, but actually do it, walk the talk, so that Nigeria becomes truly united. I mean, that is the only way. Even Africa itself, the only time Africa has done well was when Africa united, not talking even Nigeria as a nation. Then to move to the second theme, which is teacher and the teaching profession. I'm a teacher. I've taught at different levels until now. I've made my impact along that line. And I'm happy with the theme this year because it addresses a major issue that, faces education today. Education, the children we teach at different levels seem to have been abandoned to teachers. Parents just, carry their children. In fact, when the children are on holiday, many parents are not happy because the children
they eat more.
No, not just eat more. They just
after paying, very high, huge fees, the teachers will be pushing the students.
No. It's the parents who push the children to. The children will be with the teachers when school is on, but when there is holiday, the parents should take care of the children. And even when there is no holiday, I mean, there are only a few hours that the children will be in school. The parents should do their own part. So that collaboration, that's the point I'm making. The teachers will do their bit. The parents should also do their bit. When both sides, and of course the community too, should also do its bit. When all sides do their bit, that's where the children will really be. Not just acquire learning skill, but to be really educated, as a whole person, beyond just how much you learn in school and all. So I'm happy with the theme for this year, and we hope that it will resonate, such that the parents do their bit, the teachers do their bit, the community does its bits, and that's how we grow children. I mean, there have been writings, and we all know that, anthropologists, sociologists, and the rest of them, about how children are trained in Africa. The whole community trains the child in Africa, and it's been good for us over the years, and that is what we want to focus on. One thing that our guest talked about, that Barrister Logun also highlighted, the need for teachers to develop themselves. Teachers need to develop themselves. You need to be at the highest level, the current state of knowledge in your field. Not just regurgitating the same thing you taught 20 years ago. You must develop yourself. You can only give what you have. Yes, and that is what teachers should pay attention. Finally, ASUU. There will be a strike very soon by ASUU if government does nothing. 14 days notice has been served to
I
government.
mentioned something about teachers always going on strike.
No. If teachers are treated well, why should they go on strike? When teachers are treated, how many times have you seen CBN staff go on strike? They don't go on strike because they are well paid. NNPC.
Or National Assembly.
Oh, they don't go on strike. Yes, they don't go on strike. Teachers are so poor. There's a graph I will send to our platform after I leave here of how university teachers are paid in Africa. Nigeria is the lowest of the countries that were sampled. About Africa has 53 countries, about 30, 40 of them were sampled. Nigeria is the lowest, $300 per month for a professor. No other country in Africa does that. So the strikes are not just because the teachers in Nigeria love strike. They are just too poorly paid, so badly treated that, for instance, 2009 agreement, I'm still talking about 2009 agreement 2025. It is true that some aspect of the agreement they say is not realistic, fine. But the part that they are realistic, why must we negotiate one agreement forever? And government was informed long before. They set up one committee headed by Nimi Briggs. There was a report in that. Yali Ahmed has also presented another report. And nothing, the government does nothing about all of those. That will improve, at least significantly, marginally, the lot of teachers. So, well, I'm using this opportunity, this platform, to appeal to the president and the government to see how they can link up with ASUU in the next 10 days to avert another strike. It was a tragedy that in 2020 we lost that session. 2022 we lost that session as well. That's the first time since independence that we lose 2 years out of 3 years, except maybe in the East during the Civil War. Except that. So the government, of course, has been saying that there will be no strike. 4 years will be 4 years. Again, you're not just saying it. Government needs to link up with ASUU leadership in the next 10 days to reach out something so that the strike can be averted. You can see we are not interested even in the strike. What we're interested in for government to meet us halfway so that we can avert the strike. We also have children among those students. So while we are wishing teachers well, we are saying all the government, the community, the parents, everybody join hands together so we can have children that are really educated beyond just learning in school.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Let's now take some other subjects. In a related development, Nigeria's iconic National Arts Theatre in Igomu, Lagos, now wearing a fresh look after 4 years of renovation, was this week officially reopened by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The landmark event, which coincided with the nation's 65th Independence Day celebration, also marked the renaming of the national monument as the Wole Soyinka Center for Culture and Creative Arts in honor of Africa's first Nobel laureate. The president, who described the project as dear to his heart, announced the creation of an artist endowment fund to be managed by the Central Bank of Nigeria, promising to personally contribute to it. The renowned Center of Performing Arts is now expected to regularly host big cultural and artistic events, as exemplified by the recent command performance of Fela and the Kalakuta Queens there, managed by Bolanle Austin Peters. Now, Prof, let me come back to you in this regard. Now, look, this has been long in making. The National Theatre, built ahead of the 1977 Festag, patterned after the National Theatre in Bulgaria. And, for many years, it was the center, a melting pot for the culture, and for culture and the creative arts in Lagos. We used to go there to watch films, movies, stage plays, The place was like a laboratory. Conference centers, CBAC, Center for Black and African Culture, was there. Not too far away down the road was the News Agency of Nigeria. They had the dance troupe of Nigeria there, but somehow over the years, the place began to deteriorate. In fact, Professor Wole Soyinka, who accepted the honor of the monument being named after him, said at a point the place had become a slum. So those who are applauding President Tinubu may well add this to the achievements of his administration. He didn't start the renovation, but he had enough presence of mind to complete it. But there has been some tittle-tattle out there. about who is Soyinka, why is he being named after him, and all that. But there is a pattern in other parts of the world. Even the Bulgarian theater is named after Ivan Vasov, prominent artist in that country. But don't let me take over the conversation for obvious reasons. Let me come to you, Professor Awurawo.
Well, that's your area, that's your territory, performing arts and all. So you should be especially delighted that.
If you give me time, I can talk about
yes, you should be especially delighted.
Creative economy for the next 1 hour or longer. Especially
delighted that the renovation has been now concluded and the place has now been open for use. Two things I would like to say. One is that the place should be put to good use. You talked about creative economy. The renovation was done in the expectation that performing artists will use the place, will also pay, and the place will generate income. It should not be run like any other government parastatal or agency that will just be there, and they will not bother about whether those who should use it are using the place or not. They should reach out so that those who for whom the place is well suited will use the place and then pay, so that the creative economy can generate income from there. The government will benefit. Creative performing artists will also benefit. Everybody who loves the arts will also benefit. We hope that will be done so that it won't be an exercise in futility, a wasted effort that the place has been put to use, has been renovated and is not being put to use maximally. Maybe in another couple of years, the place again becomes dilapidated, and we begin to wonder what happened. That should not be the case, and the government should be careful about who they choose, who they appoint to man the place. The private sector is also involved now, so we expect that there will be more creativity in the way the place is managed. And and as for naming, I think naming after Professor Wole Soyinka is right. He has contributed tremendously to the arts in Nigeria. But the addendum I will make to that is that too many things are named after people in Nigeria these days that it's almost becoming, undesirable, so to speak. Virtually all academic institutions are now named after people who are not even, if you look at their records, not even worth it. So broadly, I would say that too many things are named after people, many of whom do not really deserve it. But the National Theatre, I think, Wole Soyinka, his contribution to the arts, his global reach, his impressive, contribution to literature, his literary activities, all of those things place him at, the prime place for such a monument to be named after him. But again, that does not mean that just every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Jones, something must be identified to be named after them. Virtually all schools. I saw one Moses Adasu University, all sorts of names all over the place. But as for the National Arts Theatre, I think Wole Soyinka deserves, the monument being named after him.
Mr. Logun.
Yes, I totally agree on that point, that Professor Wole Soyinka has paid his toll in advancing the theater, arts, and culture of Nigeria at the global stage. And I hope that that monument is maximized. And I just want to suggest that if you look at that environment, we also have the aquatic potential. I was in the US on vacation and I visited Elkhorn Lake. Beautiful place. And so rather than just leaving that place as the slum it was described to be, now that there is a facelift, what can we do to combine that and profit from it? And again, I also want to speak about the security in that environment. All the roads that link National Art Theatre are connected to places where you may find some human beings that may constitute threat to tourists that are coming around. So we should look at it holistically and see how we can upscale it to give us maximum benefits. And permit me also to go back a little bit on the design of the National Art Theatre. Some may be wondering, why is it like that? You know, it's called the General's Cap, you know, and Doctor can speak to that. It's designed like the cap of General Yakubu Gowon.
No, the design is exactly as the one copied from Bulgaria.
Exactly.
And it was the architect that designed the Bulgarian National Theatre that supervised the building of this. And don't forget, the military were in power at the time that theatre was built. So they may have been fascinated by the, appearance, the concept of a military cap.
And again, to also learn from that, if there are good things we have copied from abroad, we can also copy their governance system by providing safety net and creating commonwealth for common good. But by and large, it should be excellent if we have sustainable benefit from that investment. I recall that some banks had to come together to say, let's give this a facelift. I will say kudos to
the bankers committee.
Exactly, and the government and the stakeholders. And we look forward to more wins, but sustainability is crucial.
I think we should add to it maintenance.
Yeah, and that is also important. Is the advanced expression of sustainability. You know?
Because when you go there now, it looks well renovated and all that. But if it's not properly maintained, they won't even remember to provide water for the toilets.
And the government may look in the direction of PSP for the aquatic aspect I brought in. Some may be interested. Turn it to a real,
well, I think they have that in place. There is a private sector partnership, public-private sector partnership model that they are following. But, Nigeria should just not happen to this,
Someone has spoken against that expression, that Nigeria should happen to him. So, Reno Mokri say Nigeria should happen to him.
Well. When we say in popular parlance that Nigeria happened to someone, people mean it in a pejorative sense. Not. Anyway, let's take another subject that should be of interest to the bourgeoisie. The Federal High Court in Warri Delta State has halted the enforcement of the Nigerian Police Force and the Inspector General of Police's controversial tinted glass permit requirement for vehicle owners. In an interim order issued on Friday, the court directed the police to maintain the status quo and respect ongoing judicial processes until further hearings in the matter. The ruling came as proceedings opened in the suit filed by human rights lawyer John Aikpokpo Martins against the Inspector General of Police and the police force. The suit challenges the legality of the renewed enforcement drive on tinted glass permits. The development comes amid criticism from the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, and other stakeholders who have argued that the government's clampdown, the police clampdown on tinted glass permits is unlawful and prone to abuse. Now, I'm coming back to you, Professor Kila. But the Inspector General of Police says, well, they will respect constitutionalism, they will respect the rule of law, and the fundamental human rights of citizens, the same police. And that the police is just following an existing law, 2019-2024, on tinted permit, the Tinted Permit Act. And then I think there's a story that they've not even seen the order from the court. So will this police respect people's rights? Some people have also argued that, look, these vehicles that have tinted glasses, some of them are factory made. So our policemen, can they see that, look, the tinted vehicle that Professor Aworawo is driving, it's like that from the factory. Not that he went and bought nylon, these fabricated tinted glasses that are all over the street. But the skepticism is that this will will become, will be abused, as it was in the past.
Exactly so. What has the police introduced over the years that was not abused? To even begin with the current exercise, they told people to go and register somewhere, go online, and then pay, and then the system is not even working. I have a former student who came all the way from Badagry to Yaba here and tried to, process the thing, and he went back empty-handed, lamenting. So the inefficiency has already begun, even from those who were willing to even register, pay, and then get the permit. And then again, you will also ask the question, because the major argument of the police is that kidnappers have used these vehicles with tinted glasses to carry out their violent activities. How does the permit enable the police to apprehend kidnappers? Except after the crime has been committed, maybe the fact that the person registered, they will not go and check the records and all. But so I don't really see the advantages. When you weigh the advantages versus the disadvantages are so enormous. And this problem of the police abusing any small thing that they have the opportunity to preside over or exercise influence over is a problem. And just like you pointed out, my car is factory tinted, and those that are factory tinted, they are always different. The driver's side is not always tinted, so you can actually see from the driver's side, see the back of the car. I don't even know why the police, in the past when they talked about tinted glasses, they always omitted those ones that are factory made, the factory tinted, because the makers were very cautious. They only tint the back. The drivers, the front side is usually not tinted, which enables you to be able to see the back of the car. But in the regulation for this current one, those cars are also included. What the police wants to gain from that, I really don't understand. So I'm happy that the court has, put a halt to it for now. Let's hope that there will be reasonableness, in this, so that the whole process, be shelved permanently, not just because now there is a court case. If the courts at the end of the day, they exhaust the process and then they say, okay, the police can go ahead and enforce. We'll come back to where we are now, maybe in another couple of months. I will appeal to the Inspector General of Police that, look, this idea of, there are too many things are enforced. This idea of just tinted glasses, enforcement and all, they should shave it. Maybe if they don't want to, those ones that just went to look for nylon and cover the entire car, they could focus on those. But I don't really see what the advantages are. When you put the advantages versus the disadvantages, I'll just advise the IG to just drop the matter and let us move on.
Mr. Logun.
Thank you, Doctor. That law was enforced until it was suspended. And there are several issues of concern to stakeholders. Firstly, now we are saying that license will be obtained annually. And I did a bit of research. I think it may cost you about 60,000 to drive that process through, with the difficulties of even carrying out the registration without having to go through some other stakeholders, that you will need officials fee beyond the official fee. That is on one side. Then in public relations, there's what you call perception. Those are the people in the school of thought of the effectiveness of that regulation. That is it not just to mobilize revenue for the agency or for the government? And that is why it is good sometimes when a policy is being rolled out to embark on what the wise call measuring 10 times and cutting once, rather than measuring once and cutting 10 times, so that you do all the evaluations of the consequences of your action. As it is now, I also read that the police claimed that they've not seen the court order. Again, I'm addressing the judiciary, not just the bench, but the bar also. When these orders are given, can you do the needful to communicate it to the right stakeholders? But by and large, even though there is an order now, some officers will pretend as if there is no order from anywhere. So how do you cover it? And again, I also want to advise respectfully so that if the police wants to be seen as respecting the rule of law, then let's have some machinery set up for complainants to effectively complain about abuse if we have promised that, okay, we will respect the Constitution and the regular laws around this and treat people humanely? We need to ensure that that is done. But as it is now, it's an interim order, and it may end up like how the VIO roadworthiness matter ended in Delta State, where the court declared that it's only for commercial vehicles. And I think citizens, we have to continue to challenge some of these policies, and that is what we know about participatory democracy. And the Nigerian Bar Association is also resolute in trying to ensure that the rule of law and the rights of citizens are protected. And another school of thought is coming from the angle that, okay, with the burden, the economic hardship burden on the citizens, now you are bringing this. I'm asking a question right now. How much does it cost to carry out change of ownership if you purchase a vehicle? How much does it cost to get an international passport in Nigeria? So when you put all this together, I just want to advise that the police should step back for a while, study the processes, and ask a critical question. What impact will this have on security? I had the singular privilege of reviewing the anti-kidnapping laws of Lagos State when it came out. And I rolled out a point that the kidnapper you are threatening with death penalty is already dead. You see, there was capital punishment for armed robbery in the early 70s. Did this stop armed robbery? So how do we confront the insecurity we have in the land so that citizens don't begin to suspect some of these policies as just mere revenue drivers? And those are my comments. So it's been suspended twice lately, and I hope this time around the measurement will be critically taken to ensure that if eventually it is implemented, it should be effective. Some Nigerians have started complying. Some are even removing the tin from their vehicles, claiming that they don't have the money to, and some are waiting that, okay, let's see what will happen. But now there's a stalemate, and let's see how it should be resolved.
Yeah, but in some states of the Federation, persons have already been arrested. And
cannot rule that out.
So maybe the police may well have not communicated, or they may well be right to say that they are not aware of any court order.
That's why I advise that when you are implementing policies like this, let there be a desk where people can complain and respond, so that you'll be seen not to have hidden agenda.
Okay, let's take a foreign subject having to do with world peace and the possibility of peace in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced he's sending a delegation to Egypt with the goal of finalizing a hostage release deal within a few days. In a statement Saturday, Netanyahu said negotiations aim to secure the release of all remaining hostages held in Gaza. This development follows Hamas's partial announcement of a U.S. proposed peace plan. The proposed agreement will require Hamas to release the estimated 48 remaining captives within 3 days. In return, Israel would halt its offensive, withdraw from parts of Gaza, and release Palestinian prisoners. Already, there have been reports of excitement among the mediators that, well, perhaps at last there will be peace between Israel and Hamas and peace in Gaza. President Donald Trump had proposed on Monday a 20-point plan. And he had said, well, if there is no agreement on that 20-point plan, all hell will break loose, and Hamas will be the major loser. Mahmoud Abbas, President Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian National Authority, when he was speaking on the floor of the United Nations General Assembly, by remote viewing, by remote effort, having been denied visa along with members of his delegation by the United States, I said, look, Hamas will not be part of a future plan. And Hamas itself has also said, well, we accept parts of the 20-point plan, but there are aspects over which there should be negotiations. Israel also says, well, we are, happy with this proposal. We are also willing to release hostages. But with this peace deal, will it stand? If it does, maybe President Donald Trump will get a bit closer to his dream articulated during his address at the United Nations General Assembly, that he has solved conflicts in up to 7 parts of the world in 7 months, and that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe this will be his last effort to get the Peace Prize. Professor Awurawo, let me come back to you.
Well, it is gratifying that progress is being made, at least some progress. They have gone through the 20 points proposed in that plan. It tilts a bit towards Israeli interest, but there are also aspects of it that will benefit the Palestinians and Palestinian Authority, even Hamas itself. So, plus or minus, it's an imperfect plan, but I think it should be acceptable to all sides. First, I'm happy that the issue of Israel's attempt or desire, or Netanyahu, let me not say Israel, desire to annex Gaza, that one has been shelved. It is one of the points that Israel will not annex Gaza, and that an international force, that will be controlled by the neighbors would ensure that the stability and security,
or rather by independence.
Yes, in the place. So all of those are positives.
With Tony Blair part of it.
Yes.
And Trump as the man in charge.
Well, let's hope that he will be balanced and fair. Because you see, when these things are developed, when they have been articulated, fairness, how much it takes care of the interests of both sides will be a major factor in how successful it will turn out to be. For now, it favors Israel more, but it also addresses a whole lot of the interests of the Palestinians, which is why people on the other side too are saying, well, we'll accept it. And from the Israeli point of view, the release of hostages is also key. It's important. I mean, the Israelis have been forever, those affected families, have made cases and along that line. So we hope that they will follow through the implementation. It is not too balanced, but we hope they will follow through the implementation so that at least peace can return to the place. I mean, the humanitarian issues are also contained in the agreement, in the plan, which will be in the interest of the entire, the 3 million or so people of Gaza who have suffered terribly all this work.
Okay, Mr. Logun, briefly, so that we can take the emergence of a female bishop as the Archbishop of Canterbury.
I'm for peace any day, and like we have learned in conflict resolution, even when you go on a war campaign, you return to resolve the issues. And then I believe that the encounter of Netanyahu during the hunger really humbled him, because from the way he was operating, he was ready to really, pound Gaza. And I hope that the desire of Trump to have America win the peace laurel will be granted. And he has also tried. And one thing I must acknowledge about Trump is that sometimes he forces this peace on you. You don't take it, prepare for the consequences. And I think going by the shakings around the world now, if we start resolving one after the other, the best impact it will have on the globe. And again, the two-state resolution is still on the front burner. And I believe also that remotely, Trump has muted converting Gaza to a real estate site, if the deal flies through.
Well, that one has been shelved. That one will not happen.
For now.
It's been shelved. It's not part of the 20-point agenda.
But like you said, the moment they sign the dotted lines, you never can tell what happens through the back door. But one thing we should all learn is that any day, anytime, peace profits more than war. Absolutely. So I'm for peace in that region.
Okay, very quickly. Britain has appointed Sarah Mullally as the new Archbishop of Canterbury, the first time a woman has been named leader of the Church of England in 1,400 years. Mullally also becomes the ceremonial head of about 85 million Anglicans worldwide, with the appointment of a woman risking deeper theological divides with some of the more conservative branches of the church in African nations. Reforms introduced 11 years ago made it possible for a woman to hold the office, and by being named as the 106th Archbishop of Canterbury, Mullally becomes the female leader of one of the last areas of British public life to have been led by men. But for Anglicans globally, about 2/3 of whom live in countries like Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and the appointment of the first female Archbishop could further highlight the difference with the Mother Church in England. Mullally is 63, a former nurse who worked as England's chief nursing officer in the 2000s. She has advocated for creating an open and transparent culture in churches which allows for difference and disagreement. I don't know who is an Anglican here. Professor Awurawo, perhaps, or Mr. Logun? Okay, Professor Awurawo, you go first.
Well, the society is reinventing itself. The church, too, is reinventing itself. And just as you indicated in the report, this will likely create another issue for controversy as to whether a woman is supposed to be leading a church. But a whole lot of changes have taken place. I mean, this is not even as, to my mind, as controversial as the issue of gay priests, which some churches like the Church of England too has, accepted to open up. And people ask the question, if a priest would be gay, how do you interpret the biblical condemnation of homosexuality? But society is reinventing itself.
And the definition of marriage.
Exactly. So this one I'm not even sure will be as controversial as that one, because when that one happened, many people said we're not going to be part of the church, and that it is clearly stated in the scriptures that homosexuals will not inherit the kingdom of God. And so why would you have a homosexual as the head of a church? Now again, a woman, it's also controversial because there are scriptural statements regarding men leading the church and all. So we hope they'll be able to manage it so that they will be able to continue to contribute to society.
Yes, in human resource management, we talk about the glass ceiling crumbling. So the male gender is shifting for the female gender to step into some sensitive position. And in this case of England, this reform started as far back as 1994, ordaining female priests, then around 2018, and now we have someone listed to become the Archbishop from 2026. Obviously, it will affect some other stakeholders around the world, and I think it's good for Africa. You see, Jesus Christ himself is the head of the church and the owner of the church, so look at the template that suits you. It's in the scripture. When you hear of the Corinthians, the Galatians, they have their different approaches to serving God. So I know that many churches will not be comfortable with this, but life is dynamic, and that is how the England people want it. So I would just advise that look at your own peculiarities and see how you can remain on the platform of righteousness. At a time in Saudi Arabia, women could not watch even football match or drive vehicles. Some started the advocacy. Things are changing around the world, but like I said, before she finally steps in 2026, let's see what their reactions will be across the globe.
Okay, but the Global Coalition of Confessing Anglicans, GAFCON, as it is called, they say they are even more conservative than the conservative wing that has produced Sarah Mullally. And they insist that this is unacceptable to them. And in Africa, it's only in South Africa that the church has been speaking up to say there's nothing wrong with it. The larger Anglican communion worldwide does not seem to agree. Thank you very much, Mr. Logun, and thank you, Professor David Awurawo. I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show, here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. From my entire team here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching.